In addition to the 100 blocks per second, Kaspa has the next vision, day-night and vProgs. And now we have the first detailed vProgs graphic, and we can see what it looks like and of course how feasible it is. And Kaspa's feasibility is very, very good. This has been tested. Hey, welcome to Crypto Owl. The weekly update from Kaspa is here, t-shirt or jersey on, neat and ironed. And if you'd like to support me, feel free to subscribe to the channel. It's completely free. Over 70% of viewers still haven't subscribed to the channel. Feel free to like and comment. At least 7 words, that's what I've learned, because the new algorithm is here. Regarding Kaspa, as I already mentioned in the last video, we needed to hold this zone above 5.2 cents, but unfortunately, that didn't happen. On the daily chart, we already saw that before the interest rate cut, specifically on Tuesday, the rate cut was yesterday. And after that, the crypto market went up a bit at first, but then everything was dragged down. We saw that yesterday with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Yes, and Kaspa had already dropped on Tuesday, breaking through this line, testing upwards, and then breaking through again. Not good, even though the retest here actually looked quite positive from a technical chart perspective. In the end, you never really know what the big whales are doing, what's being done, what's being bought and sold at the end of the day. That's why it's always hard to say, but you know how it is with people who make charts or do chart analysis. They'll say, no, actually, this looks pretty good. So why is it going down now? I don't get it either. Yeah, and by the end of the year, things are usually pretty quiet with Kaspa too, so you can say that probably not much new will happen since it's already almost mid-December. And at the end of the year, it's often the case that a lot of developers go on vacation, that many people just say, no, that's enough for now, it's Christmas time, and then they recharge for the new year. And it's pretty much the same with Kaspa. So I don't have a lot of big news, but I don't want to say I have nothing at all. There are a few things. For example, you might know that green image that was uploaded by Kev and Hans Moog. There was a statement and some detailed stuff about it. And I went ahead and translated the whole thing into German and took a look at it, and it's actually really interesting what was said there. Specifically, beyond the ideology, Hans Moog talks about the breakthrough in scalability. And Kaspa is doing really well in that area, and we'll have a really good test on that in a moment. Many modern blockchains like Solana or Aptos, despite promising high TPS, quickly hit physical limits. Then he really went into detail here. These are things where I first have to Google myself, for example, what Amdahl's law is. But if you Google it and read up on it, okay, you can make sense of it. And Kaspa is, of course, taking a completely new approach here by truly reinventing scalability. And the topic of layer 2 is also very exciting, which becomes even more interesting with the vProgs, of course. And as I said, we have an interesting graphic about the vProgs coming up in just a moment. Yes, and according to Hans Moog, Kaspa is currently the only distributed ledger technology that demonstrates true linear scalability according to Gustafsson in practice. Kaspa is also breaking new ground with upcoming ZK systems. By decoupling layer 1 and layer 2, meaning with these two layers that we've always had up to now. That means we had a layer 1 and then a layer 2 was built on top of it. But this is decoupled by connecting everything together. As I said, the graphic will follow in a moment, so that the whole thing is processed efficiently and without the massive computational load of classic ZK approaches. Because ZK proofs, or zero-knowledge proofs, are usually associated with high computational load, and you have to be able to provide that first, of course. In the end, Hans Mock and the KEF concluded a modular, resource-efficient, and extremely scalable approach for the future of blockchain infrastructure. And of course, it's very exciting to see how the whole ideology that maybe existed at the beginning led to a paper, then to a block deck, and then quite a lot was built from that. And by now, so many researchers in the DLT field are interested in Kaspa because they say this structure is new, it's unique, and a lot can be built on top of it. When we take a look at the vProgs in a moment, you'll also see visually that something very big is being created there. But first, a quick note. If you want to buy Kaspa, then check out Bybit.eu. Mika is regulated, fully licensed, and you can also buy Kaspa there. You can do all of this with USDC, just top up here and easily buy USDC with one click. You can then exchange those for Kaspa, and just like that, you have Kaspa. Or you can buy Kaspa directly yourself using the one-click buy option. Additionally, they currently have interesting events, for example, the Birthday Blast. Log in every day, earn points, and then exchange those points. Additionally, there are also welcome bonuses. If you register here, you can easily claim a welcome bonus by completing a few simple tasks, which are worth a few dollars. There are also some other interesting events. Note, for example, e.g. Netherlands, Poland, Austria, so check that first. The list of events is long. The Christmas tree event is also currently running. There are also plenty of prizes to be won there. To participate, just buy Kaspa or other cryptocurrencies daily and collect huge tickets every day. You also get a daily lucky draw chance if you have certain spot trading activities, for example, if you simply buy Kaspa. Feel free to check it out using the link in the video description. By doing so, you support my channel and my work, and you get access to the fully regulated exchange Bybit.eu. People who haven't looked into Kaspa and have only read about vProgs have said that the whole thing will take years. And there were also statements like this: completely misses the actual signal and will take years. Those were the kinds of statements that were made. But Michael Sutton, the only developer with comprehensive knowledge of both Darknight and vProgs, has just confirmed the whole thing for December 10th. My main focus is on vProgs. If the person who implements Kaspa research results into real code switches full-time to vProgs, that's not a delay, that's a green light. vProgs is no longer just a theory, it's being built. So, it's getting interesting. The topic of vProgs is becoming more and more exciting, and of course, I still invite Hans Moog to join us here if he's ever interested. The last time I spoke with him, I think it was in 2021 or 2022, when he couldn't attend an event because of the lockdown due to COVID. We spoke via video back then. I was the one who called out to him. But that was the last time I had personal contact with him, even though it was only via video. That was the last time I had personal contact with him. I haven't heard from him since then, but back then he was still with IOTA. But since he's been at Kaspa, I'd be very happy to do an interview with him if he's interested. So tag him under the X posts. Maybe he'll finally read my comments, because even in the Telegram group where we used to be together, he's not in there anymore either. He was actually pretty active there, but he left that group too. That's just how it is sometimes. vProgs, very interesting, because here we have the first visual graphic. It's very important to say before we take a closer look, this is not an official graphic. The person even asked for a fact check. So, is what I've done here, or what has been created here, really that good? Well, I think it's really, really good, and by now you can actually understand the whole thing. But what does all of this mean? So we have a layer 1. This layer 1 is actually just the transaction. Transaction confirmation, basically the blockchain, which also plays a role here as the data layer. And then here we actually have the real layer 1, meaning the blockchain, in other words, data availability. And in the graphic, this is called layer 2. And then we come to the DA component, which is built on top of this. Then there's layer 3, the vProgs layer. And this actually processes everything together, even though you have different vProgses, for example, A, B, and C. These are all combined and can then, in the end, work with the ZK proof generation layer, which he refers to as layer 4 in this context. And up here is actually where everything we all do happens, namely all these checks, whether the transaction is complete, whether everything is being verified. So, a lot of things happen up here. The ZKs, the zero-knowledge proofs, which many blockchains want to have nowadays, but not all can implement because it's actually quite difficult. There are even dedicated projects that are focused on zero-knowledge proofs. That's why Kaspa simply builds all of this on its block deck and brings everything together, because everything is combined here and can work together efficiently. Then here we have L2 gas, meaning the gas fees. These remain very affordable with Kaspa, and there are no plans to make any major changes. With Ethereum, the big problem is always that transaction fees are relatively expensive and don't really scale. But with Kaspa, they are very low. And that's the Kaspa community from 7 countries. 7 countries just sent some Kaspa back and forth all within a few seconds and with very low transaction fees. Take a look at this. The Kaspa community simply sent 5 KAS across 7 countries. Here we can see the whole thing, and in the background, the block deck is running, bam, from one person to the next, then to the next. And total transaction fees, so for all transactions across the 7 countries, were 0.0115 KS. No zero configuration, no lightning, everything is based on the proof of work base layer, and that's at a maximum of 10 blocks per second. This simply shows the power of Kaspa as it currently stands, and it's really very impressive. Kaspa has a very solid foundational structure, and this naturally gives hope that in the future others will discover it, and that the cryptocurrency, or rather not even just the cryptocurrency, but the technology itself, will be used by many. And this actually gives great hope that many projects and products in the blockchain space might eventually take notice of this layer, or rather, the Kaspa blockchain. But Kaspa has a major problem, and that problem is the hash rate. Unfortunately, it is currently continuing to decline. We can be very curious to see where all this will lead. Let's take a look at it. As we can see here, the hash rate is not particularly impressive at the moment. It's actually decreasing. And work needs to be done to build the hash rate back up. I hope that something will change in that regard. Here we see hash rate and price. The hash rate is slowly declining, and unfortunately, the price is dropping a bit faster. That's why we hope that things will improve in the near future and that more hash rate will be built up again. On the Kaspa land site, we can even see the order book of all exchanges. It's also very interesting to observe this a bit to see whether people are currently buying more or not. Here we see Bybit, but Gate.io is also available here. The time frame is 1 hour, but we can also set it to 4 hours. The data there is a bit different and looks a bit more organized. Yeah, you could say that however you like. There you can see what's being traded, what's being bought via spot, but also futures. Cool site, this Kaspa Lens. So keeping an eye on it is really cool. Yeah, and at the beginning of the video I mentioned 100 blocks per second. And to be honest, this isn't one of those topics where you say, yeah, maybe in a few years. I think you'll see vProgs by the end of next year. That's what the initial numbers and data being tossed around in the Kaspa community and even by some developers suggest. So it's best to be a bit cautious there. And I can well imagine that Dagnite will come along as part of that, or maybe even before. And then they'll probably aim for 100 blocks per second. Kaspa Key also wrote something about this: decentralized high-speed financial markets for tokenized and other digital assets. Together with the planned future upgrades like Dagnite and 100 blocks per second, as well as math resistance, Kaspa is the only practical, scalable global solution. Kaspa is already convincing simply because of its physical advantages. As I said at the beginning of the video, these are currently very technical statements, but these purely technical statements are already quite promising when you consider what's coming our way in the future. Digital money, increasing digitalization in everyday life, many large data centers, in addition to AI, and of course what the central bank wants: digital money for everyone. Not just, yes, we have a bit of digital money or our money is becoming more digital, but in the future they want to have completely digital money. Of course, that's also easy. You don't have to just print money in the basement anymore. Instead, you can just press a button and suddenly there's more money in circulation. But of course, the whole thing needs a base layer. Whether Kaspa will be used for global monetary systems is still up in the air. Of course, no one knows that, but the foundation, the technology for it, would definitely be there with Kaspa. But if a digital euro or maybe even a digital dollar were to run on the Kaspa blockchain, would it still be a tradable cryptocurrency in that sense, or would they keep the whole thing more under wraps? It's something to think about, but if we look at real-world assets, tokenized stocks, which are also being planned, then Kaspa's technology can be used very effectively, and we can be very curious to see whether Kaspa might be the technology that people will rely on or rely on even more in the future. I hope you were able to take something away from this video, or at least are now a bit more informed about the technology behind the Kaspa blockchain. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video.